In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do a reverse lymph flow by using your dry skin brush. This is what we call an alternative routing. This is particularly important for women and men who might have lymph congestion, lymph node removal, mastectomy surgery, or complications in the upper quadrants where we need to direct the flow away from the axillary lymph nodes in and under the armpit. Stay tuned for details of how to do this rerouting. Welcome, I'm Melissa Gallagher with Natural Health Resources. I'm a natural doctor and a lymphatic drainage therapist. And today I want to show you and actually teach you how to do a technique. We call it rerouting of the lymphatic flow. This is particularly helpful for folks that might have complications from breast surgery. This could also apply to men and women who might have had mastectomy surgery or having lymph node challenges, be it lymph node removal or what I call lymph node amputation, as well as anybody who needs to reroute the lymph flow to alleviate fluid in the arms, in and around the breast cavity, and even the upper abdominal cavity. So I'm really excited to detail this video. I've actually had a lot of folks who have asked me to do this video, and I'm really excited to showcase the dry skin brushing technique that you can implement at home immediately. And you first and foremost want to get a dry skin brush. That is going to be an essential item in our dry skin brushing regimen. I prefer long handle brushes that you can remove fairly easily. In our rerouting technique, I'm going to use the handleless brush. And I love it because it's got this little area, this little handle that you can literally just stick your hand in and you get a grip. Okay, so first and foremost, with dry skin brushing, you do not need to exfoliate, really brush hard. A lot of folks think that more power is better, and in fact, that's actually not the case. Dry skin brushing is really important that you're very gentle, and literally you just put the brush on your skin like this, and you move it in circles. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start off with the left clavicle. So this left clavicle, really it's maybe 2 or 3 fingers from your clavicle bone. We call this the thoracic duct, and you do circular pattern like this for about 3 to 5 minutes. You do that circular pattern for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then we move to the opposite side. And we do that for about 2 minutes. So with rerouting, what I would normally be doing is pushing lymph to underneath both arms. But we're not going to do that today because we want to move the lymph flow to an area back here. This is called the anastomosis point. So after you've opened up the thoracic duct on both sides, you're going to literally just move the flow from the clavicle to this back space. So this is, you can kind of see, I do circular pattern in this back space. I'm doing brushing down the neck, and I'm brushing down the neck and back, clavicle back. Now, the other thing that we want to do, and I'm going to focus on the right side because the right side tends to be a trickier side, tends to be an area that we don't have a lot of lymph flow that is draining properly. So if you've had surgery on the right side, it tends to be an area that is slower to move. So I'm going to put my arm up. So you want to kind of elevate your arm like this. And instead of moving across the breast and avoiding your nipple, you never want to brush on your nipple, but moving towards that area, traditionally, what I like first to do is to scrape and move it to this little point right here. I've shown you some videos before. We call it the cisterna chyli. That you do a little circular pattern and then you sweep to that area. So that's a reverse. And then what you want to do is you want to get right here in the armpit and sweep back. And we'll pick that up in the next 2 steps. So you're moving away from the armpit. Don't be surprised if you get some odor. and maybe even lack of sweat or maybe excessive sweat. That's totally normal. Your flow is going to be moving. You might also feel kind of an energy flow. A lot of times I get winded. So when I'm actually showcasing people, and even sometimes when I'm working with people, I'm getting that flow moving, and you can kind of feel some warmth under the skin. Some people describe it as a colder feeling. Okay, so we sweep from the armpit out. Okay, so it's armpit, out and around. All right, the other thing we want to do is we want to drive from the armpit down to your hip. That's an alternate. So we want to drive it down to the hip. I'm going to step up a little bit and down to the inguinals. The inguinals are the groin, so right in this space. So you're literally moving down and around the breast, down to the hip, and down to your inguinals. That's that lower pelvic region. You'll want to get the handle back on. And what you're going to do is the sweeping, so switch to the other side. The sweeping, you want to move it to the back. So we basically moved underneath the armpit, and then you're sweeping it back to that area back here. So the other thing too is you want to take a few pauses in between a lot of the sweepings. The sweeps down to the hip and the sweeps around from the armpit. You want to take a break and do circular patterns here and this anastomosis point. And I like to do an invigorated movement because that's getting the lymph flowing. It's picking up a lot of that excess fluid. Similarly, you can do that on the left side. So you want to do sweeps from the armpit out and down the hip towards the inguinals. The flow down from the armpit to the hip, down from the armpit to the hip, you want to do that for about 3 to 5 minutes. And do expect, you might feel your bladder fill, you might notice that your urine flow and the volume of your void, your urination, is greatly enhanced because we're getting the fluid moving. Now, if there's lymphedema or any type of swelling in either arm, instead of moving the flow to the armpit, you're going to be moving it to the back, moving it to the back. So you can actually do wraps around like this, and then back towards that space. Lastly, before you finish, you want to go to that space right where the rib cage meets. It's kind of the upper area right at the base of the breastbone. You want to do circular patterns here. And again, you're sweeping in from both sides if both sides are compromised. If there's only one side compromised, you're sweeping in just from that side. Sometimes that occurs where both sides are compromised, sometimes it's one or the other. Regardless of which side, you always want to be pushing the fluid up and around. So from the neck, you're moving it back around, from the shoulder back around, and you'll figure out your form, what's comfortable for you, what handle position, and where you're going to place your hand so that you get optimal lymph flow. Sometimes it's the left arm, sometimes it's the right arm that you're moving. It doesn't matter if you're using the arm that is the compromised side. Honestly, it's more about the flow. And in fact, sometimes using the lymph impacted arm is part of that lymph flow. We're actually moving our muscle tone. So that's how to do a reroute of the upper quadrant. And stay tuned for our next video where I'm going to talk a little bit more about collagen and how it can help heal your body, your gut, and your internal system so that we limit inflammation and the aging process. Pretty exciting video, so stay tuned to that, folks. Have a great day.